here I am again, just basically talking about what happened, what the verdict was, and the shock and the surprise that's going on. Now it's a little bit loud here because those are the helicopters up top just hovering over the courtroom, and it's not that I'm in the courtroom, but it's kind of loud. So if you hear that, that's just what that is. The helicopters are still here even after like 3 hours. But anyhow, going back to the case, it's no surprise. I really do think that the prosecution failed to connect the dots. I think they did not take the possibility of aggravated or felony child abuse. They did not focus on that story. They did not capitalize on the fact that, Casey was at work all this time and her mom was taking care of her, and basically that, Casey may have looked at Kaylee like a pet, something that you only, do a few things with. That's why, it could explain, why she didn't grieve, why the site she chose to, if this is true, I would say the prosecution could have developed that relationship more, whether or not Cindy was forcing Kaylee to be Casey more of a mother. Now, I think that um, the fact of the matter is, I think the family knows what happened. I think they know the truth, and I think that Casey knows that her family knows the truth, and you know, and nobody really wins in this case. I think the defense, you know, the defense doesn't have to prove anything, and that's what justice is all about. The defense has no burden of proof. The prosecution had the burden of proof. They had to prove everything, and focusing on the duct tape and fighting to get it over the nose and the mouth, I think, was their demise. Because how could you say chloroform was being used if every orifice that could take in air was covered? So, had they argued a certain way, it could have been possible. If they just argued that it was over the mouth, it could have been possible that the jury could have came to the conclusion, yes, there was chloroform in the trunk. Yes, the baby was in the trunk. Yes, the baby inhaled chloroform. Yes, and the baby died after that. We could do aggravated, but when you say chloroform plus the covered nose and mouth, it leaves doubt. It makes a reasonable person say, wait a minute, is someone really gonna use chloroform, go through the trouble of making chloroform, not to even use it on someone? And that's a reasonable conclusion. So, um, speechless, speechless. Now, there's going to be Lifetime movies. There's going to be book deals. I'm one person that believes, especially with the news reports of the money orders to pay for this case, and that was coming from California. I am of the belief that everything in this country is up for sale. So those people that were sending those money orders may have had some interest. So don't be surprised if you see the Lifetime movie coming out. Don't be surprised if there's book deals. Don't be surprised of anything in this case. I think, when you put facts to the elements to make the case, it just wasn't there. The reasonable doubt was there. Like I said in my last video, it's a possibility that she did put duct tape on her mouth. It's a possibility that she wasn't paying attention and Kaylee walked away, with the sticker being on there. Doesn't show to me like the duct tape was put with malintent. I could argue that way. I'm saying, to a reasonable person, is it possible that she got away and got drowned? That's a possibility. Still, in this case, that's a possibility. So, looking at the jury and from their point of view, and looking at what the prosecution was able to prove, and the lack that they didn't develop enough about that motive, because they were saying stuff like, Kaylee would talk. I mean, like I said in my last video, Kaylee is a 3-year-old. You can lie to 3-year-old. They believe in Santa Claus and like the Tooth Fairy and stuff, and they believed that for a long time. I'm sure Casey could have lied to her. You say the boyfriend. It's just not there. It's just those pictures, that they were showing of Kaylee and Casey together, and it paints a picture. It paints a picture that she was a loving mother, and she may have been, but you never filled in the gaps of all the time that she was spent away. You never really knew the details of how much time Casey was actually spending with Kaylee. We will never know, but the family knows. But that's just my opinion. Justice was served. Either way, this is what the jury came to, and we can't be upset, because we feel we know what happened. We just have to go with what the law is, and the law states the facts must match to the elements, and if it's there, it's there. If it's not there, it's not there. It's just the sad thing is not everybody gets this kind of justice. So, you know, that's the sad part, is that everybody don't get this kind of justice.